So when I insert the CD-ROM, you can see this prompt CD-ROM D:/DVD1. Do you want to install the setup program? Now this is on Windows Vista. What I am doing is I am right now installing these tools on Windows Vista. So it says run setup.hta. I am going to select that. On Windows Vista there is a feature in the operating system called as user account control or user access control, and using this feature they protect people from running the unauthorized or your machine from being exposed to attacks. Sometimes it doesn't launch, as you can see, from auto launch. So in that case I can just open the DVD and double click setup.hta. Now there are 4 Express Edition products that you can choose to install, either one by one or you can choose only one of them. Visual C# Express Edition is used if you are interested in doing C or C++ development. I would strongly recommend that those C programmers who are currently using Turbo C++ should immediately switch to this, because this is a much better product. If you are doing Visual Basic.NET or VB.NET development, you can use Visual Basic.NET 2008 Express Edition. Of course you can use the WinForm development here, which is for the desktop applications. You can use Visual C++ Express Edition in case you are, or Visual C# Express Edition in case you are doing development on desktop using C#. So these are the 3 products for desktop application development. The final product, which is Visual Web Developer 2008 Express Edition, is what we are going to install. So on the right hand side, whenever I take the mouse, it shows me this icon of CD-ROMs and a box. I am going to click on that and it will take a prompt. This program needs your permission. Click continue if you want to install it. So I am going to do that. Now I can close this dialog, and it will take some time for the set of files to be copied to your hard drive, and the installation will begin now. Now the installation procedure on XP is pretty much the same. Okay, so you just have to read the instructions that appear on your screen and accept whatever are the sensible defaults. First is the setup welcome screen. I click the next button. Then I have to accept the licensing agreement, which of course if you are interested you can read all this, but most of this is just legal stuff, and we click next after clicking I accept. Now in addition to Visual Web Developer, I told you that additional software is also included in the Express Editions DVD. First is Microsoft Silverlight. Silverlight is a technology that Microsoft has introduced recently to create what are known as Rich Internet Application or RIA applications. And we'll not be able to talk about that right now, but we'll maybe talk about it later. And second is Microsoft SQL Server 2008 Express Edition. Both these are essential, so I'm going to keep these options selected and click on the next button. Now in this screen, destination folder selection screen, it is going to ask you which drive on your machine should the software be installed in. Now there are several choices here. I would recommend that you go with the default. If you have enough space on C drive, you can see that it requires 1.7 gigabytes on C drive. You should have at least this much and some more for actually developing the programs or websites or web applications and the databases related to that. But again, depending on your machine's disk partitions, you can choose a different drive. So I can just say C:, I can replace it by D:, in case I have space on D:. Or if I want to do it graphically, I can click the browse button and go through the browser folder selection process. So I don't want to do any of that. In my C:, there is enough space that is available. So I'm going to simply click on install. Now this installation has 12 steps. You can see currently installing 1 of 12 Visual C++ runtime prerequisites, and you can scroll here to find out what other things are required. There is a reboot step as well, and certainly this is going to be a reasonably time consuming process. So what I suggest is that while this is going on, you just go and grab a cup of coffee or cup of tea and stroll around rather than messing with the installation process. Let it proceed at whatever speed it does. Now typically it takes half an hour. If your machine is slower, it might even take longer than that. So what I recommend is that you let the installation proceed normally and then come back and check at the end of installation process whatever the installation messages are. So we'll do just that. So after a long wait, about 30 to 45 minutes, as I said earlier, your Visual Web Developer Express Edition, the installation's major component is over. Now it says that you must restart your computer for completing the installation. So I'm going to restart my computer now. Now when you restart your computer, it will first tell you that it is trying to configure some updates, and then it will shut it down. So once it restarts, again it will show you a message that it is trying to configure some of the updates that were installed as a part of the Visual Studio Web Developer installation process. So you just have to be patient and make sure that your machine is not powered off during this critical stage of the installation. Because if your machine is powered off during this stage, then it's likely that your installation might be corrupted. So make sure that you show enough patience during these phases, because installation depends on it. So now I'm going to log on, and once I log on, the remainder of the installation process will continue. Depending on your machine speed, this might take a little while. So you can see that the setup has resumed from where it had left off before the reboot process. So you can see the last stage of the installation process is installing SQL Server 2008 Express Edition. Even this stage might take quite a while, because remember, we are trying to install database server software. So it's a significant piece of software that is essential to all the web application development. And this is silent mode installation, which is the easiest. What I suggest is that you always install the database server software through Visual Studio Web Developer installer. Normally, if you install it as a standalone product, the installation process is quite a bit more complex, because the installer that is used here is a silent mode installer, whereas if you go for a separate download of SQL Server Express Edition and then install it, then you have to be aware of quite a few different possibilities, and you have to choose very many different things. And for a newcomer, certainly that is quite difficult and challenging. So I would suggest that you go through the process as it happens as a part of the Visual Studio Web Developer installation. So finally, you would see a message saying that setup is complete, and